Hey guys, Editing Scott, welcome back, and this is the conclusion episode of my starting an apartment garden, and we're just gonna jump right back in, having finished talking about the plants, and we'll go over all of the full shade stuff and the final cost of this. And for those who may be wondering, yes, the thumbnail of this video is a spoiler for where the garden goes, but like I said in that first episode, I'm playing a little bit of catch up, so don't hate me for that. So that's all of the plans. And like I said, now to go back and focus on the full shade aspect of this garden. Um, like I mentioned in the last episode, the garden itself is on the side of my apartment building, and that little driveway strip is fairly narrow between two buildings. So right now, in kind of like the dead of winter, it's only getting about 45 minutes of direct sunlight. So as the sun comes up, it hits that alley and then it's immediately gone. I anticipate that that will be more like 2 hours, give or take, in the summertime. But still, anything less than 3 hours is considered a full shade garden. And most vegetables are not meant to grow in a full shade garden, so why am I even trying? I think a lot of this goes back to when I was first growing flowers on my windowsill in New York. All of the plants I had, I didn't learn this until later, were supposed to be full sun plants, and I was also growing that in full shade on a north-facing side of a building. So they didn't even get 45 minutes of sun, they got like 0 minutes of sun. And they still grew. They flowered, they produced, and it worked out. When you look on the back of these seed packets, you can be confident that it's basically a bunch of lies. Spacing's not really accurate, the sun's not really accurate. So maybe I'm exaggerating the lying part. But the information on the back of a seed packet should be viewed as guidelines, not necessarily requirements. Plants are living things are all variable, it's never always going to be the same, so take it with a grain of salt, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, and so my anticipation with this garden is that similarly things will grow, things will produce, probably not to the extent or the speed that they would do in a full sun scenario, but that's part of this learning experience. I'll be able to see like how does the garden do and judge things for the future. Like the onions, for instance, they're probably going to fail because they're a plant that notoriously needs a lot of sunlight. But how much will they fail by? Will I still get tiny onions? That's something I want to figure out, something I want to see for myself. Maybe I only get a couple tomatoes, but still, that's a couple more than I had before. So hopefully I can go through and see what works, what doesn't, and then evaluate this garden space for next year. Another thing I will do is at the end of the season, I will go back and kind of do a rundown of how all of these plants performed, what I had to change, what worked, what didn't, and hopefully that'll be a fun video to kind of look back on as well. And just to note also on the type of full shade this is, even though the sun isn't directly hitting the plants, they still have open access to blue sky above them. It's much different than if you planted these under a tree where the tree is actively blocking light from coming down and hitting the plants. As well as both buildings on both sides are painted fairly, and it's like a light tan color, so I think they should reflect a lot of light between them onto the plants, and that should help as well. And another bonus to this is actually because of the way the sun hits the plants, and this being Los Angeles, they're going to be protected during the hottest part of the day. So after 2 p.m., they're not really going to get any more sun, even in the middle of summer. So the hottest part of the day, the sun's not going to be beating down on them, which is probably a good thing. Because in LA, while we might not get any frosts and have kind of like a 12-month growing season, this heat in the middle of the summer where you have 90s and 100-degree temperatures for days or even weeks at a time, that can be pretty punishing to plants. And this full shade setup might help avoid that. So now also to tally up the cost of all of these plants. If you've been following along, actually most of these seed packets will have the price on them, so see if you have a mental tally on what this cost. I did get about 6 different types of seeds for free, whether that was trading with friends or kind of like getting a promotional bonus seed packet. So that's nice. But let me start with some of the bigger items. The 2 blueberry bushes I got, those were $20 each for 1 gallon blueberry bushes, so $40 there. The strawberries I got were $5 each, so $10 for strawberries. And then the garlic was also $5, so $15 on nursery plants, $40 for blueberry bushes, and then grand total, drum roll please, $52.50 for all the different seeds I got. Now that might seem like a fairly large number, and it is, but remember, seeds are going to last for a long time. I can hold on to these for years because there's no way I'm planting all the seeds I just bought. So hopefully that will save me seed costs in the future. That brings us to a grand total of $107.50, which then makes the total for the prep, the building, and the planting being $339.50. Like I said last time, you could definitely do this for cheaper, or you could probably spend more on this. Part of what my cost was here with the plants was I wanted to do a lot of different varieties. So that costs a lot more. If you stuck to only a few plants in that same space, it would be much cheaper. I did kind of go overboard with the flowers a little bit, and I'm probably not going to be able to fit them all in the extra space I have. But that's next year's problem. I'll again more flowers to plant then. And with the blueberry bushes, those were a big cost. Honestly, they were a little more expensive than I thought they'd be, but they're something I'm going to be able to hold on to for a long time, and I think will bring a lot of joy. So, but that wraps up our building and planning this full shade apartment garden. This is the start of my gardening experience, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. But this is where we're starting, and we'll see how things go. Till next time.